Hey there, my name is Eddie, and I'm recording this video because I have a 20-year-old son, and I just had a talk with him this morning, and I hear a level of despair in his voice that, yeah, I really feel for him, but I gotta imagine a lot of people are feeling right now. And I completely get it. The economy, housing, AI is going after your jobs. He's right. He's completely justified. And it's not just because he's 20 years old. All of us should be a little worried, right? I got a little worried. I had to remind myself of actually the advice I gave him, because I gave him two really important pieces of advice that we learned through hard knocks, ourselves, right? As my wife and I were coming up. And the first one was don't panic. And I know that sounds kind of simplistic, but it's so important because we really learned that one the hard way. I'll tell you just a little history. My wife and I used to have the dream of living in New York City, a big city life, and a lot, we dreamed of having a lot of wealth and kind of the American dream that I guess most people, think of. And we were on that trajectory to make it, right. And we were working hard, and we built a business, and before we knew it, that business had 15 employees. We had trucks, and we had warehouses. We had property. We had investment property, so we were landlords. So we went through all of that. We were on track. And fast forward 12 years, my wife, we had a 2-year-old son by now, and my wife had a subarachnoid brain hemorrhage. So that's basically a brain bleed. And for 17 days, she was in the ICU, and we didn't know in each of those 17 days, it was in question whether or not she would make it through the night. So it was tough. It was really tough. And thank goodness she survived gracefully. The doctors gave her a clean bill of health, but with the caveat that we couldn't continue the same way we were living. So basically, we were working really hard. We were accomplishing a lot, and we were accomplishing the goals that we were trying to accomplish, but we were burning our candles on both ends. We had, like I said, a 2-year-old son when we honestly barely saw him. Like he was always with his grandparents because we worked so much, and we really had to stop. They told us, yeah, the life as you know it is over. So you got to figure something out, but you can't continue the way you guys are living now. So that's tough. Like that was a moment of panic, and we panicked. We panicked. I panicked. And, all of a sudden, that was a time in our lives where a lot of people were always coming up to us with business ideas and wanting to partner up. And that panic made me want to come up with a new stream of income as quickly as possible. And having partners seemed like a good idea, because at least I wasn't alone to come up with the financing. And before I knew it, I had, 2 business partners, and I was in a business that if I wasn't in panic, I would have seen more clearly was probably not a good idea. And it was probably not a good idea to have partners. I needed to be able to pivot quickly. And now I had partners, so I couldn't do that. I couldn't make quick decisions. And I didn't realize how important that was to me and in the way that I ran things. So that leads me to the second piece of advice that I give Jacob, is to get very comfortable with pivoting. Okay. If you're comfortable with pivoting, you won't panic as much, first of all, because you know that you can always change directions. Okay. If something isn't working for you, you can look for another path really quickly. If you're selling a product, that product is not working, you could quickly say, well, how can I use that same clientele, but to sell them something else, that they might be interested in, or use the same, resources that I'm using for this business and put it towards another business. So, we pivoted really quickly, and eventually I was able to not be in that business arrangement anymore. And then we really had to pivot, right? Then we almost had like a clean slate. So it's like, okay, we have to find something like right away, because I already had wasted a lot of time trying to make it work with the partners. So now we had to make a change. So we started looking at living a simpler life. I'm like, okay, so what if we don't need all these trappings? We don't need the cars and the properties and all this, right? So before I knew it, I was looking at living extremely simply, at buying. I remember the idea then was to buy like a little cabin in North Carolina. And it's funny because the more I looked at this and this lifestyle, the more it attracted us and the more it started to hit us that this is what we like. Like, in fact, every vacation that we had gone on in the last like 10 years, we would never go to a city. We would never go to New York. We had been to New York a couple times, but generally we were going to places that was kind of getting away from it all, going to nature. We're going to a farm. We're going to live in an RV. Once we rented a super nice cabin by a lake that had it came with a little pontoon boat. So we were always kind of trying to get away from it all and get away from the city and go into nature. And that's always where we were happiest. So then it kind of like, it's funny. That's why pivoting is so important, because it lets you open your eyes and look at this other door. And when we looked at this other door, we're like, wait a minute, this is what we like. This is how we want to live. Every chance that we get away from the city. Yeah, we were trying to go to New York City, but we already lived in a big city. We lived in Miami. And honestly, we hated it. We were in traffic all the time. It was very congested, very fast paced. Everyone needs everything now, now, now. Yeah, it was not a life we were enjoying, obviously, because if not, we were always trying to escape it. So yeah, because we were willing to pivot, now we were looking at completely new things. Like, that's when I found out that there were people who lived traveling full time in an RV. And that was just, that blew my mind. I could not believe that was a thing. And before I knew it, I was telling Sarah, like, hey, what do you think about maybe buying an RV, selling everything, including our home, and buying an RV and traveling full time? And I honestly thought she was going to reject me. I thought she was going to like laugh at me. Weirdly enough, she was like, let's do it. That's literally what she said. Let's do it. And I thought she was kind of like half joking. But she wasn't. The truth is that we had all gone through a very traumatizing thing. And then right after that, we had the partnerships, and then, things just kept seeming wrong. And so she was very open to it. And the idea of us just taking off in an RV sounded like, okay, it's like the vacations that we always take, but we're going to do it full time. So before you know it, we're really looking into it. And within, I think, a year of her let's do it, we were buying an RV and we were telling our family, and they were thinking we were crazy. And I had friends that really just started to kind of distance themselves from us, which was weird, right? But yeah, they just were not accepting it. They thought that we were becoming crazy hippies. And I guess we were crazy hippies, because that sounded like a lovely life to us. So before you knew it, we were pivoting. And it was because that willingness to pivot that we found the life that we live in now, right? So now right now I'm talking to you. I'm in a farm in the Maryland, PA border, and I'm loving it. I'm never in traffic, and I'm here for several months. I get to do that because our nomadic lifestyle allows me to, as soon as it gets maybe like really cold, we get to go somewhere else, and we do that. And we've been doing that for the last few years. So yeah, don't panic, and then be willing to pivot, because you really don't know like what's on the other side of that door that you weren't willing to look at, because the thought of pivoting was so scary. That what's on the other side of that door might be like an awesome life. It might be a lot better than what you were ever thinking of, right? So it makes you like really open your mind. So anyway, that's it. I hope you get something out of that. If you do, please subscribe. I'm really trying hard to get this YouTube channel going. My wife Sarah and I, she's usually the star, because I'm very uncomfortable doing this. I'm talking to the camera, but I'm practicing and getting better. But basically, our channel is about starting businesses online and all the ways that there are, because there are so many ways. And we don't sell a course or anything like that, so it's not in any way something that we're doing in order for you to buy something from us. We're not trying to sell you anything. We learned by watching a lot of YouTube videos, and we've gained some insight, and we're going to be talking about it all here. Our experiences in like things like Shopify and Etsy and eBay and print on demand and several other things. We'll also be sharing what hasn't worked for us. I want to be completely candid. There's things that we tried that just didn't work, and we want to be able to maybe save you guys some time and some money in that way. And we'll also be, showing kind of like our life in the different places that we are, since we travel full time. Now we're in this farm that we're going to be here for several months. We always show aspects of that way you guys can see what we're up to. I think I tend to ramble, so I'm going to try to edit some of the rambling out. But that's it. Take care. Bye bye.